The thing that like most people want to know, I think, is like, did you get jizz in your eye? And I'm like, I wish that my one night stands were that fun.
I am very worried about resistance to gonorrhea. If we are already seeing resistant to our last line treatment, in a few years or so, we will have gonorrhea that is untreatable.
Gonorrhea with symptoms, a very, very creamy sort of pus-like discharge, lots of burning and stinging when you pass urine as well. One of the worst could be infertility or subfertility.
Did you know that you could get gonorrhea in your eye?
Like, absolutely no idea.
Sir Alexander Fleming, the man who gave penicillin to the world.
Since the first antibiotic, penicillin, was discovered, gonorrhea has become resistant to 6 different types of antibiotics. And all over the world, we're seeing more cases of harder to treat gonorrhea. But how exactly did we get here? And can we stop the spread of super STIs?
You can definitely feel a greater stimulation when you have unprotected sex, barebacking, as opposed to protected sex. It's raw, it's primal.
Everyone is vulnerable at the moment.
When was the last time you had sex?
Beginning of December.
Have you ever had any STIs in the past?
Yes, gonorrhea.
Okay.
We live in an increasingly global world. Access to sex is much easier than it used to be. Access to multiple sexual partners is a lot easier. We can't stop people from going to different countries, having unprotected sex and then bringing imported infections back to us. That's not going to, we can't stop that.
Thank you.
Until January 2019, this clinic in London used to treat gonorrhea patients with 2 drugs. But because of global growing resistance to one of the drugs, they're now on the last line of treatment, which is ceftriaxone.
This one had packed pus, so there's definitely an infection going on. And there's quite a bit of gonorrhea under here.
Gonorrhea is the 2nd most common sexually transmitted infection in the world. And in women especially, it can be a silent and symptomless STI. If left untreated, it's an STI that can lead to infertility and even blindness in newborn babies. And it's not just passed through penetrative sex, it can also be passed through unprotected oral sex and even touch.
I thought I had conjunctivitis, as you can see here, but it actually turned out to be gonorrhea in my eye. There it is. Lovely. I don't know for sure, like, who gave me it. It's pretty easy to get. There doesn't have to be sexual contact with your eye, it's just hand to eye. Everyone was asking me, they were literally going like, right, did you get cum in your eye? And I'm like, weird thing to ask a stranger, but okay. Like, no, it's just as easy as getting your standard STI, really, so.
Just as gonorrhea was treated with just 1 course of antibiotics, gonorrhea, like in her case, can be easy to transmit. And if you look at the number of cases of super gonorrhea reported worldwide, a fair few of them were passed through oral sex.
I just started a new relationship with somebody when I found out. Well, it turned out that he actually did have an STI, but
Not gonorrhea.
he actually had chlamydia, so I've just found that out actually. I thought it was gonorrhea, but no. If I was single again, it would be a big issue for me to make sure to use condoms every time.
Even for oral sex?
Well, no, I think given that that's actually true, I totally didn't think of that.
So if you're going to have oral sex with someone, would you say, okay, let's put a condom?
No. So you're right, I'm an idiot. Ugh. Like if somebody tried to use a dental dam on me, I'd be like, get away.
In the past year, there have been 3 cases of gonorrhea in the UK and 2 in Australia that could not be treated at all using this final antibiotic. These cases are the worst yet reported in the world. But it was back in 2009 when we first saw high resistance to our current treatment.
It was in 2009 when we had the first superbug in Japan, where you have very high rates of resistance to ceftriaxone. We are now seeing an emergence of resistance to ceftriaxone, which is our last line treatment for gonorrhea.
I think at the moment, and I know this might sound a little bit controversial, but if you're pulling sexual health funding, you're not going to test enough and you're not going to capture enough.
So, what now? To understand some of the challenges of stopping the spread of super STIs, let's begin with someone we'll call Patient Zero. Patient Zero is a British man who in 2018 travelled to Thailand and came back to England with the world's worst case of gonorrhea in his throat. The usual antibiotics would not shift his gonorrhea, so instead he was treated with a different antibiotic used only for severe infections. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Patient Zero hasn't spoken to any media. But what we did find out during the making of this film is that Patient Zero had sex with a woman who he met in Thailand on a dating app. Once he was treated, Public Health England said attempts were underway to find and treat the source to stop the super gonorrhea from spreading. But the woman who gave it to him, she's never been found.
In terms of things like Grindr or Tinder, it's increasingly easy to be able to have anonymous sex. And that just means there are absolutely no details whatsoever about the patient. And however hard you try to engage the patient to try and contact them or to try and get a contact detail, it's still almost impossible sometimes to just be able to do that.
If having unprotected sex means you're more likely to get an STI like gonorrhea, why do so many of us take the risk?
I didn't get any sexual education concerning LGBT issues. So this is my room. So this is a message that a guy just sent me out of the blue. It says, I'd have him breed you. Would love to see a group of daddies breeding you and then use as your toilet. Breeding means the act of ejaculating in someone.
So a message like this is quite extreme. So
I'd say common though. I'd say extreme but common. I've been barebacking for about 2 to 3 years on and off. Having that connection with someone else's body without something else in the way. Imagine touching snow without a glove. There's something about it that just feels nicer. If people know their status and they're safe and they proceed carefully with partners, then there shouldn't be an issue. I've had chlamydia and syphilis once.
what do you think when someone mentions super gonorrhea?
I don't really hear about it that often unless it comes up on the news or in conversation, and I don't think people view it as a serious threat due to that lack of knowledge about it.
Do you not view it as a serious threat?
Not particularly, no.
There's so many challenges. To start with, there's always very poor support. And this is because STIs are not talked about. A politician doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want to support it.
Reducing the stigma of it would help more people actually get tested. We're told that it can only happen to slutty women or slaggy women or all these like horrible words that are used to describe women that are freely sexual, even though in this case it's not one person that's having the sex, it's two people. But like I guarantee when this goes out I'll have an army of internet warriors calling me things, but like I don't mind because I'm happy to be the one to you know, like take the hit.
Every time we develop a drug for gonorrhea, it will also be again a matter of time for this new drug to be resistant.
I think there's definitely an attitude that the certain debauchery or sexual lifestyle that people lead is kind of indicative of their personality, and it's not. Education is a silver bullet.
If we don't have more support, if we do not have the right treatment for gonorrhea, then there will come a time when we have untreatable gonorrhea.